All right, I'm going to share the timer.
Oh, we're going to be on and talking football in 4 minutes.
Got a great show for you guys tonight. What's up, Ron? I knew you would be here. What's up, David?
Oh, it did it to me again. Let's see if I can fix my background here. Oh, it's another Tuesday night spectacular. The season ended, I feel like, on a good note. We got a lot to talk about, including the coaching carousel, a breakdown of week number 18, and preview wild card weekend right here on the Fourth and Goal Sports Podcast. Let's talk about what you want to talk about first, buddy.
Well, First off, let's say congratulations to the 2024 Michigan Wolverines. What a hell of a game last night. I'm amazed. Go Blue. And we still got one more team in Michigan fighting for a championship. You heard it here first.
Couple
Now,
points on that. Michigan ran it down their throat, man. Boy, were they looking good the whole game. And it wasn't just what is it, Corwin or whatever, the running back. It's the other guy. What is it, Donovan Edwards or something like that?
yeah, Donovan.
Yeah, he ran it down their throat. Big holes. The Lions dominated the game. Michigan tried to let them stay in it for a while, but eventually the more dominant team just took over and won. And it was fun to watch.
Um,
And then when it comes to, Michigan won, and Jim Harbaugh, and we'll talk about him in the coaching carousel perhaps, but wouldn't it be interesting? I'm not rooting for this, but wouldn't it be interesting if Jim Harbaugh won the national championship and John Harbaugh won the Super Bowl?
it would be crazy. Now
Yeah.
we've seen two sports win a championship in the same city before in the same year. Now, I don't know if we've seen two brothers though win a championship
Right.
in their sports in the same year.
Right.
So that might be a new one for the record books.
Well, and
But
I know you're hoping that Detroit wins, and of course, Michigan just winning, and we talked about this before the show, but you guys, your team, you mentioned that Justin Jefferson is rooting for the Lions to win, and you were surprised, and you're like, oh well, he's going to be a free agent. He wants to be with the Lions. The Lions are a sympathetic team. You have a sympathetic fan base. Okay. You're one of three teams that if nobody's got a horse in the race, people want to see either Detroit, Cleveland, or Buffalo win the Super Bowl because none of those three teams have ever done it. And so, if Kansas City can't win the Super Bowl, I'm rooting for one of those teams to win. And I think there's a really good chance that one of those three actually does it. I don't know that Kansas City is going to have enough offense. I don't think they're a team that can flip the switch, if you will, and just come on like a house of fire here in the playoffs. They're going to need some fire because it's going to be -5 degrees in Kansas City Saturday night.
Miami,
Holy smokes!
Miami really, really screwed themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
nobody's giving them a chance. And when you don't give a team a chance, that's when they'll come out and surprise you. The two teams already played this year. They played in Germany, and we'll review that, a little bit more as we get down the line here. Let's see if we can mess up my screen and talk about the Week 18 in review.
okay. I do want to bring this up. Jameson Winston goes rogue and gets Jamal Williams his first touchdown of the year. The coaches are pissed about it. Alan Sharp, not Alan Sharp, but Shannon Sharp is calling for them to cut Jameson Winston for his actions.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp needs to shut the fuck up.
What's your take on it?
Yeah, Shannon Sharp, shut the fuck up. Okay, everybody, we're just as guilty as they are. So I guess it doesn't really matter, that I say this, but talking heads and their opinions looking for a hot take so that everybody will talk about it. Okay. That's all that is. He's not on Undisputed anymore, and so he's got to make himself, have some kind of well, I'm a champion and we would have never done that on our team. Well, you know what? They wasn't going to the playoffs. They knew they probably wasn't going to make it. The team made a decision, and they decided to get the guy a touchdown. Fuck Atlanta. Who cares? They wasn't making it. Atlanta, 2 weeks ago, previous to this game, cost the Saints the chance to probably go to the playoffs. Atlanta beat New Orleans. New Orleans was doing all right, and Atlanta beat them. And then New Orleans proceeded to win the last few games of the year, which gave them an opportunity. But Tampa wasn't going to lose to Carolina in Week 18, even if Baker Mayfield was hurt.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is,
as far as Shannon Sharp is concerned, this is, there's a lot of things that you can respect about Shannon Sharp. His career, some of the things that he has talked about. You can either agree or disagree. I disagree. This is the NFL. Stop them. Okay, this ain't college. If the team went rogue, Dennis Allen hasn't been fired. So it's not like them going rogue is he's lost the team, or something stupid like that. So for my money, I just think that it's a soundbite. Who cares? It has no bearing on what's going on now. We're past that. And that's why I want to just kind of go through these games here real fast because we're in the playoffs now. Okay.
Yeah.
We're in the playoffs now. We'll talk about each game a little bit, what surprised us, what we saw, and so on and so forth from each game. But, the season's over now. Okay. The Saints don't matter. We'll talk about them and their future in the offseason unless, they fire their coach. And I don't think they're going to. I think there's a real good possibility that they add John Gruden as the offensive coordinator or an offensive assistant. I've seen that on Facebook. They brought him in during training camp to help Derek Carr because they're friends and he's his former coach. And I think that the defense played well enough this year for, New Orleans to get somewhere. But the offense sputtered from time to time, and I blame that on not the quarterback who was, getting beat up behind an offense. So I think he got a shoulder injury, AC joint in his shoulder, concussion at least twice during the year. Okay. The offensive line is porous. He's learning a new system. They've got weapons all over the field. But the offensive coordinator, was, let's take a deep shot every time. We can't check it down and move the chains. They had Green Bay beating Green Bay, okay, earlier in the year. Turnaround, gave up the game. They had, and once again, we're talking about a team that's not even in the playoffs, But, I just think that Shannon Sharp should just shut up. There's nothing to talk about here. Let's move on to, the playoffs. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Ron says Dennis Allen won't be fired. Atlanta was given pink slips on Monday. Yeah. And we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the coach carousel here after we get done with the, I need you to set it up so I can share.
Oh, my bad. There you go.
And
I got a good take on when we get to the
start
lines.
with the Saturday games. Pittsburgh gave themselves a great opportunity. Baltimore, of course, did not play their starters. Okay. And so Pittsburgh has looked pretty good offensively with Mason Rudolph as the starting quarterback. And so I expect him to be the starter when they go into the playoffs against Buffalo. The problem is they're going to be without TJ Watt. He screwed up himself again, because he's an all-out player. And, so the defense is going to be weakened. Baltimore, once again, they didn't play their starters. They had the number 1 seed locked up. Houston won and got in the playoffs. And because of other games, ended up winning their division with the rookie quarterback, C.J. Stroud.
He
is
broke the
the
Ohio
offensive
curse.
rookie of the year.
He broke the Ohio State curse, boys.
Yep.
They won
Okay.
their championship. CJ Stroud is the first good QB on Ohio State. You heard it here first, folks.
Indianapolis played tough, but and they're going to probably be a playoff team in the future. They'll get Anthony Richardson back to be their starting quarterback, but I wouldn't let Gardner Minshew go anywhere. When it comes to being the backup, Jacksonville, man, and they're making fun of them on Facebook because when they were 8-3 or whatever, playoff tickets go on sale, this week. And then they proceeded to shoot themselves in the foot down the stretch. Turnovers. Trevor Lawrence was clearly not healthy. The only game they won in the last 5 games was with C.J. Beathard starting, and they played against, I think it was Carolina,
Yeah.
beating the worst team in the league. And, they looked like they had a chance to come back against Tennessee. Of course, Tennessee fired their coach in Mike Vrabel. I think he was fired because, he probably he wanted to be out of his contract. I want to be out of my contract, or I want to be traded somewhere, or, whatever. And he didn't agree with the way that they were trying to rebuild the team. I think that's how come he ended up, excuse me, getting dismissed in Tennessee. Ron says, give it up to Houston for staying strong and hanging in there. We all had Jacksonville winning the division. We sure did. We did not see Houston coming at all. We didn't see Indianapolis coming at all.
No,
I knew Tennessee was going to be the worst team in the division because they didn't add any talent, till practically when they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, and it's a little too late. Now I like what they're doing with the quarterback. I like Will Levis. He's young, he's raw, but he looked good in several, stints as the starter. Detroit did what they had to do. Detroit gets the win over Minnesota. Minnesota just kind of floundered down the stretch, changing quarterbacks in and out. I hope that they do not lose Brian Flores to a possible head coaching job, the defensive coordinator. They've got questions at quarterback going forward. And as we talked about earlier, Justin Jefferson's going to want to get paid. And so they've got some salary cap issues and things they got to work out. But Detroit set them up in position to get the number 2 seed. They ended up settling for number 3. And, excuse me, we talked about the Saints. They ran the score up on Atlanta, 48-17.
Real quick about Minnesota. I was watching I forget what show it was, and they were saying what Kirk Cousins has said, and he wants to do everything possible to stay in Minnesota. So it sounds like he might be willing to take a friendly cap contract, and he's not going to try to hold them hostage for money. So they might be okay at QBs if that's the case, and if they choose to stay with Kirk Cousins.
Well, he's got a house there. The family's been living there, and he's coming off of an injury. And so there's some uncertainty when somebody, like a quarterback gets hurt in this way. And so, it might be beneficial for Minnesota, to sign him to something, that is friendly, like you said. Bill Belichick, what could possibly be his final game with New England, takes a 17-3 loss to the New York Jets. There's been some talk that he may retire. There's been talk that possibly, they're just going to bump him upstairs, or there might be an outright release. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes for New England. Jets in the season with the victory, their first victory over the Jets over the Patriots in quite some time. So at least they go into the offseason with a little bit of positivity. And then we talked about Tampa, 3 field goals with a hurt Baker Mayfield. That's going to be a very interesting playoff game between them and Philadelphia. Both teams have not looked good. I think Philadelphia is the better team, but they're going to have to go into Tampa to win. Cleveland didn't play any of their starters. And so Cincinnati behind Jake Browning looked good against them, Cincinnati. And, they get another victory. Just a little too late for them. They just got too many losses that eliminated them from the playoffs.
But give it up to that backup
to the
QB.
Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. You got to give it up to Jake, man. You got to give it up to Jake. He's played some good games for him.
Free agent quarterback on the market.
He might be deserving of a start, just saying.
Well, then we go here to Chicago Bears and, Green Bay Packers. Green Bay had to win to stay in. I thought Chicago was going to put up a lot more of a fight, but, they didn't have anything really to play for. They weren't going to be making the playoffs. Congratulations to Green Bay for getting in the playoffs. Jordan Love's first year as a starter. There was a lot of questions about him entering the season. And I think that over time, if he continues to season as the starter, they've got themselves a starting quarterback. He looked pretty good from time to time. You're going to have rookie mistakes. Technically, he was a rookie, even though he's been on the roster, but he hadn't really started any games. He hadn't had any real live action for the most part. He's working with a really young set of receivers, all of which I think are going to be great players going forward. And then, of course, go ahead.
We got no, I got to give it up. I thought Green Bay was going to struggle this year. I remember I said them in Chicago would be fighting for last place and in the preseason. So I got to give Jordan Love credit. I didn't see it coming, but, he looked pretty good. And, in a couple years, they keep building around him. Green Bay is going to be Green Bay again. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be like Green Bay fans and say the dude's a Hall of Famer yet. But if he keeps playing like this, he got some good potential and has a good future ahead of him. Sure.
Ron says, continually, I have said, watch out for Jordan Love throughout the season and got laughed at, but he's legit. And I agree. I never laughed about it. I thought he looked really good in the preseason, and I was like, man, these guys are going to be pretty good. They came out and looked good the first game of the season, and then they kind of faltered a little bit. I thought they looked horrible in the first half against New Orleans early on, and then they came back and won the game, and they won one here and there. They beat a couple of decent teams, and I think they're going to have their hands full with this next team, Dallas. Dallas has got, they wrapped up the number 2 seed. They had just happened to have things fall their way over the last 4 or 5 weeks of the year. Philadelphia fell apart. Dallas won when they had to at home. Yes, we can talk about the penalty, okay? But they won when they had to. There's nothing we can do about that. Washington fired their head coach, Ron Rivera, as expected. Dallas has got the top seed that will be playing in the NFC this weekend. Dak Prescott had incredible numbers, by the way, and everybody's been trashing, especially Green Bay Packer fans, have been trashing the Cowboys all year long like they've got the golden goose in Green Bay. And I'm looking forward to Dallas whipping up on Green Bay so all the Packer fans will shut the hell up.
Hey,
I just think it'll be funny after they've
don't get me wrong.
on Renegades and on Pigskin People. They have done nothing but try. Especially this one lady. I do not know this lady from from Adam and Eve. Okay, but they have trashed this gal up one side and down the other. And I know it's a trash talking group and everything, but Chris Talamuda has got it coming. And I cannot wait for Dallas to beat their ass.
I knew you were going there because I
Yeah.
know they love Mess, and I know why it is because she gets so mad and angry, and she's such a diehard
And he is the
Cowboys
same way when it comes to his teams.
for sure.
When Texas A&M or Green Bay loses a game that he thinks they should have won, oh shit, let's rant and rave for 10 fucking minutes and make a video and I'm getting drunk and this is stupid and everything. And I'm just like, dude, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was really surprised that Denver didn't put up a bigger fight against the Raiders. I think that Antonio Pierce has earned the opportunity to be the head coach. There's rumblings that Harbaugh might be interested in that job. The owner may be interested in him. I think while I wouldn't be opposed to having Jim Harbaugh as my head coach, I think that he will be making a huge mistake if he does the same thing he did last time and not give the interim coach an opportunity to be the head coach permanently.
Since you brought it up, I read an article, and I hate to break this to you, and get me wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping this article's wrong. But I guess they asked him about him. He said he was really happy that he finished 5-4 and is going to be looking forward to the interview and seriously considering. But he made a comment saying he had to hire or had to interview the follow the rules of a different race, whatever that rule is, coaches. But what's kind of blew my mind, and I don't want no one to take me out of context, is if he hires Antonio to be the head coach, the minority was for the black coaches. Your coach would be black. I don't think I don't know the rule flops for white too. I don't know how that rule works, but that comment alone made me really nervous. Like, all right, he's trying to play this route like he has to. Is that telling me am I reading between the lines right? Is that telling me behind closed doors he got somebody else in mind?
Yeah,
You
I
know what
don't
I'm
know. I
saying?
didn't see the article, so I'm not sure. If you have a minority interim coach and you want to promote him to head coach, you don't have to interview anybody.
That's
I don't think that the rule works both ways when it comes to, if you've got a black head coach, you have to, interview a white coach or whatever before you can hire them.
that's what I
And,
thought. I'm
so
on the same page. So when he made that comment, that's what threw me off. I was like, that makes no sense. It's just sounds like you're making an excuse when you do interview somebody.
love you.
And you know damn well if he flies Jim Harbaugh from Ann Arbor to Vegas to interview for that coach,
He's getting the job.
exactly. You know what I mean? He ain't using Jim Harbaugh as a bullshit interview to apply with rules to the league.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the coaching situation here shortly. Eagles are shitting down their leg. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, I know that the Giants are much more improved here at the end of the season, but the team has been in disarray for several weeks. The defense, they went from the coordinator that they had selected to replace Gannon after he went to become head coach of Arizona last year. And they changed from him to Matt Patricia, at midseason or whatever, later in the year. I think that was a mistake.
For sure.
They're trying to say it's the coordinator's fault. No, it's the personnel's fault. You have a nice front seven, but you have no secondary. And now they're going to be even because Sidney Brown tore his ACL, the defensive back for Philly. And, you know, they concentrated too much on, the pass rush and the linebackers, and they didn't bring in, enough secondary help. The offense has been sputtering a little bit here. I mean, obviously, 10 points against the Giants. And yeah, just crazy, to me. The Giants really have turned things around. They did fire some assistants. Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, has stepped down. I think that he either wanted to go to another team because he's not getting along with Brian Daboll, or he might go into retirement. I'm not sure what's happening there. I'm sure we'll find out later.
They said he was upset about the firing of some of the coordinators.
Yeah.
So
Arizona put up a real good fight all year after Kyler Murray came back. They played tough throughout the year despite having a poor record, and they gave Seattle everything they could handle. Seattle was doing their best to get into the playoffs. They needed to win, and then they needed the Saints and the Packers to lose. Neither of those things happened, and they knew by the time the game was over that they were not going to get in. But
speaking
Seattle
of this game,
managed to end the season with the victory. The defense kind of let them down, as the season went on. I thought that they was going to be a lot better than they were. And that's all I got for Seattle.
See,
and then you get to go ahead.
I was just going to bring something up. I just heard about this. I guess social media has been roasting the Seattle Seahawks for smoking cigars in the locker room after they won the game because they didn't make the playoffs. And Jordan Love tweeted, or not Jordan Love, but they got a player, Love, I believe, is on the defense.
Julian.
Yeah, he tweeted out that he goes, "My bad. I passed out the cigars that it was given to me to pass out to smoke for the birth of my son." So he passed those cigars out, smoking with his teammates, celebrating as a kid, and then wakes up on social media, the people roasting the whole team about them smoking cigars. It's a crazy world on social media and these fan bases this year,
Everybody is looking for a reason to jump down other people's throat for what they do.
Exactly.
All social media is becoming like Twitter has been for a long time now. Now it's, coming over to Facebook and Instagram and other things. Oh, it reminds me of a joke that Dave Chappelle has done. The joke is, that he's going to do an imitation of somebody, and he says, I'm going to find out what you've done, and I'm going to make sure the whole world knows you did it, even if it happened 20 years ago. And I'm going to make sure that you never live it down and you never this and that. And he said, that's my imitation of you. And he's pointing at the audience because everybody is out to get people. It's like they need to point out people's flaws in an effort to boost themselves up. Or they have nothing better to do than to talk shit on others so that they can feel better about themselves.
Exactly.
And as soon as it looks like somebody is disrespecting or, like an example would be, an example in my mind would be Taylor Swift gets shown on television a few times and people lose their minds. They're not showing her during the goddamn play.
Yeah.
Okay? They're not showing it. You're not missing any part of the game. Oh, they keep showing her on TV. Well, who cares?
I can watch a whole different channel and see her commercials.
They show the coaches. Do you really care what the coach is doing?
Exactly.
Whatever play, you can't hear what I'm saying. Whatever play it is, they show the coach all the time.
Exactly, man.
About that. I screwed that up.
No, I totally get it.
Because I'm over here getting all excited. No, I mean, but it's just stupid. You
It's
know?
playoff time. The excitement's high. It's okay, David.
Yeah,
They,
let me finish what I'm doing here because I ended up screwing this up. We had two more games to talk about. Kansas City hung in there. Basically, well, we got the Rams. The Rams beat the 49ers. They started Carson Wentz, who did not look bad. Sam
no, he
Darnold didn't
didn't.
look bad for the 49ers.
No,
And
that
so they what do I want to say? They just played their scrubs or whatever and got through the game. The 49ers already wrapped up the number one seed. And so, for me, I look at this game and I think that this could be a preview of the second round, depending on how the playoffs go. It could be a preview. I'm not saying, that's guaranteed in any way. I've talked about how I'm concerned about the Rams going to Detroit. It is not fortuitous that you're going to be playing against your former quarterback. Both quarterbacks got a chip on their shoulder, really, when it comes to each other and the other franchise. And we'll get to that in a minute. Kansas City hung on with their scrubs, used their best weapon, their kicker, to win the game. We did see Mecole Hardman play a lot at receiver, and although he did drop a couple of passes, they kept throwing it to him, and he made some big plays. So I hope that he gets a little bit more run in the playoffs at receiver. And then Buffalo, Miami just let it slip away, Chris.
Yep. They did not look good. They had
Yeah,
it.
and they're in for it when they come to Kansas City with the weather,
Oh yeah, it's supposed to
But
be.
I mean, it's week to week is different. Every week is different, and you're facing a different set of opponents, a different game plans. You're facing, but Buffalo swept Miami. They beat them down the first time when they were in Buffalo, and this
Mm,
time, they did just enough. Josh Allen turned the ball over too much again, or they would have really run away with this game. And Tua Tagovailoa got exposed in this game for not having enough arm strength to get the ball down the field. He's throwing short passes to guys that are wide open, running down the field.
yep.
Just exactly what we said he was. When they play against strong teams, they struggle. When they
Yeah.
play against mediocre teams, then they look like dynamite and they put up 70 against Denver.
I mean, let's be real. The only thing they have, I think, going to Kansas City that might help them out in a way, and that's if he can do it, is Hill. Hill's going to KC with the chip on his shoulder, regardless if his team has one or not. So if he
Yep.
can get loose in that defense and make big plays all game long, and Waddle can help intrigue on those plays and make plays of his own as well, then Miami has a legit shot. But they have to play their A game, or at least play enough to get the ball to Hill and see what Hill and Waddle can do with it. Or it's going to be a very, very long night for them.
Ron says Arizona was a surprise this year. He had them only winning a couple of games. Well, and then we didn't know whether Kyler Murray was ever going to play at all.
Yeah, we thought he was going to sit
I
all
thought they were
season.
going to let him sit on the bench, and then there'd be like they'll reset the quarterback money by drafting a quarterback and trading Murray away. But I don't think that's going to happen now.
No.
He looked decent. They just need to surround him with more good players. He'll be in that new system for the second year. Whenever guys and teams, get more time in a system, an off season, a training camp, a preseason. It improves everybody. They all know what they're doing at that point, and that's why these teams that they fire their coaches, they fire their coordinators, they send them down the road. You're resetting your team and you're setting them back.
Yeah.
Okay, you're setting them back because the quarterback and the offense has to learn a whole new system. The defense has to learn a whole new system. You see these guys that come in and they bring some players with them from the previous teams to help explain to all these guys what it is that they are supposed to do, because it takes a lot to memorize and remember all the stuff that they got to do, in the NFL. And so that brings us to the coaching carousel. And I've got a little graphic here for that. And so Arthur Smith was fired in Atlanta. We know Frank Reich, was gone, from Carolina. And then, they let loose the interim coach. Brandon Staley's been gone from the Chargers. Vrabel was fired today. Rivera was fired in Washington. And then Antonio Pierce is the interim coach with the Raiders. But we got two teams that are still kind of on the lookout. Is Bill Belichick going to retire, ask to be released, get fired?
Well, I listened to this post game.
I'm not surprised we haven't heard anything yet. Okay.
Well, I looked
at being fired in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that Vrabel, when it comes to an outside coach, is the number one choice for an outside coach. Okay,
well,
to New England.
As far as here's the two things I've heard.
Do what?
Here's the two things I've heard. I watched the Bill Belichick's interview after the game, and he made it clear that he has no interest in coaching anywhere else. That he was going to return to work like normal. He said he's open to give up the GM position. He's okay with just coaching the team. If that's the case, I know him and Robert Kraft met today, and in their off-season meeting, like he says they do every year when the season's at the end. So, sounds like he might actually be staying, just giving up the GM spot. But now here's the catch-22. Is another source said before I even thought Mike Vrabel would be fired today, before any talks I heard about that it was about the same time I heard they said there was an inside source that said Mike Vrabel was very interested if a whole head coaching job opened up in New England. Now, magically today he's fired. No word on New England if Bill Belichick what's going on yet. But that's just then I heard that source. Now he's actually fired and a free agent. And like you said, you think he asked to get out of his contract. So that might be a hint that Bill Belichick could be done. And Mike could be coming to replace him.
Ron says, imagine if John Gruden ended up in Washington. I don't think that that's going to happen. That's funny that you say that. Here's just a quick rundown of my predictions. Okay. I think that Eberflus stays in Chicago. I think he, is not going to be fired because of how well the defense played down the stretch for Chicago. We don't know what they're going to do with Justin Fields right now, and that's a discussion for another podcast. I think Belichick's done in New England. And I think Vrabel's going to New England. Okay. I think that's the first one. Okay. Everybody's not in a big hurry now because they're not allowed to interview the coordinators and the coaches of the playoff teams until I think the week of the conference championship games. Okay. So 2 more weeks. So they're not in a big hurry to get rid of certain people. There may be other teams out there that are looking to maybe make a change. I thought about putting Seattle on here, but I didn't have enough room in the graphic. Pete Carroll, Pete Carroll's an older guy. He's still got a lot of energy, but he's been there a long time. After a while, certain coaches, their voice starts to get lost in the locker room, and it may be time for a new voice. And I think that's what's happened in New England for sure. I like New England to go with Vrabel. I like Antonio Pierce to get the job with the Raiders. I
I agree with
like
both.
Jim Harbaugh to go to the Chargers.
He ain't
I
going.
think Eric Bieniemy actually might get the head coaching job in Washington. I think that Bill Belichick goes to the Atlanta Falcons. And the reason why I say that is because they're going to have another good draft pick. They've got a boatload of great players, both on offense and defense. They just need better direction. The owner remembers what the New England Patriots did to the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Okay. All they need is a quarterback. Okay. And there's going to be plenty of them available. There's going to be plenty of veterans available. And he can get GM power in Atlanta in comparison to any of these other places that are not going to want to do that. Okay. So if Belichick leaves New England, I think Atlanta is a great landing spot for Bill Belichick.
Well, I know the Chargers did interview Kellen Moore today.
Well, he's in-house, so he's somebody that they can interview. Okay. They can start the process. Who's the general manager? Who interviewed him?
Yeah,
General manager's gone. The head coach, is gone.
I'm assuming probably the team owner.
Is the owner interviewing him?
I'm assuming it's probably the owner and team president.
Yeah, and so then when it comes to Tennessee and Carolina, I think Carolina's going to try to make a big swing. David Tepper is a hothead of an owner. He wants results and wants them now. I think both of these jobs are going to go to offensive coaches. And I can see your boy, your offensive coordinator for the Lions, it's Ben Johnson, right? Going for big money to Carolina.
I don't think he does. And
hoping he doesn't.
No. Time out. LA wants to interview him. Washington wants to interview him. Why I don't think Carolina. I think he turns down the Carolina job for simple fact is just our local radio show was talking about it just the other day. They're saying, like they said, that he got 3 job interviews for a head coach. They think he turned down Carolina just for the fact that he didn't like the owner. And it's a good possibility he does it again for them because that's why they think he turned it down, is because he didn't like the owner.
Well, then you got Tennessee. Once again, I think this will be an offensive coach. Okay. And there's a few of them out there that, are on their way up. Offensive coordinators. We may see, besides Vrabel and Belichick, another retread at head coach. Tennessee generally, picks up guys, I think, that have been, either interim head coaches or they have head coaching experience in the past. That's what I see Tennessee doing. I don't have a particular name for Tennessee.
I could see Aaron Glenn maybe getting an interview with them.
Defensive coach, though. They need an offensive coach.
No, I agree.
Had a defensive coach. And when you've had a defensive coach, when you want to make a change, in the locker room as far as attitude or, style, they usually go the opposite. Okay. which is why another reason why I like Belichick in Atlanta. He's a defensive coach, and they had Arthur Smith, who's an offensive coach.
Makes sense.
But I'm sure we'll be talking about this over the next several weeks. Be interesting to see if any of these teams that are in the playoffs axe a coach, because they're just hanging on, for dear life, because they made the playoffs. For a while there was talk that Tomlin was going to be out in Pittsburgh. I don't think that's happening.
Well, not now.
Buffalo, now that they won the division and got the number 2 seed, I don't see that happening.
No.
And then you have a lot of either really seasoned or brand new coaches that are in the playoffs. They're not going anywhere.
Also, want to throw out there, I did share the article with you in the comment thread earlier today. But I do want to mention Harbaugh did tell somebody in an interview that they're pushing spring practice back a month. They give players extra rest time. So it's just kind of weird with him because honestly, I'm with David. I still think a good chance he ends up in the NFL. But that kind of throws me off because why would you be making choices when the team's starting spring practice if you're going to be in the NFL? So
yeah,
but then again,
comments. Ron says that he thinks Kellen Moore is the built-in head coach for the Chargers. I don't think he's got enough experience to be the head coach. In my opinion, he's been the offensive coordinator, but he was handheld by Jason Garrett in Dallas. Then he was handheld by Mike McCarthy. Okay. He has no defensive, acumen whatsoever. I would be nervous about hiring him as the head coach for a team. And then Bieniemy in Tennessee, that would make sense if they don't retain him in Washington. You could see that he made vast improvements with the Washington team, while he was there. But, they may be looking to reboot and start over with a whole new staff, depending on who they bring in. But that's the head coaching carousel for now.
Now we get to some playoff games.
Now you're ready, right?
I'm fucking ready. I got a hot topic coming hot when we get to the Lions. Ron, I want to know your input after I say what I got to say.
All right, let me get to the share here. Coming in hot, huh?
Coming in hot.
All right.
It's like the Lions about to shock the world, baby.
And now our preview of Wild Card Weekend, starting with Saturday's game. Go ahead, Chris. You can start us out.
This is a fucking hard one because I actually like both fucking teams. But I'm going to go with the Browns because last time they met, they didn't do good with that defense. And I think that defense is just good enough to keep Stroud moving and uncomfortable all day.
Texans have a wide open offense. I love C.J. Stroud. We've talked about it since the draft. I thought that he should have been the number 1 overall pick. I'm really proud of the way he has played this year. As I said, got to be the offensive rookie of the year. But he's going to be playing against probably, here's the 2 top guys for when it comes to head coach of the year honors. Stefanski versus DeMeco Ryans. Stefanski has won games with 4 different quarterbacks. Okay. They got the 11-6 record. I just think that they've gone through the injuries and they've still managed to win. Great job bringing in Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator for the Browns. The Browns rested their starters. They're healthy. I know they're going on the road, but when you've got a young team like the Texans, okay, they're playing a veteran team in the Browns. Got to take the Browns on the road in our first wild card matchup. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, just because this one's a hard one because I feel like Miami's going to show up. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to fall flat in their face. So I guess it leaves me with one logical choice is KC, and I really don't want to pick them, but I'm going to go roll with the home team in the snow, in Arrowhead, in 0-degree weather, because the warm team just has to prove to me that they can go in the fucking snowstorm in 0-degree weather and actually win the game.
Yeah, the weather does them no favors. Miami, has struggled against teams that I would consider good teams. We talked about that. They couldn't beat Buffalo at home, in order to secure the number 2 seed. Now they got to go on the road to Kansas City. It's going to be cold, wet, windy, and many times they've asked Patrick Mahomes, would he prefer to play in a rain game or a snow game? And he's like, snow game. I'm a snow game guy, you know? And so I don't expect to have any problems when it comes to Patrick Mahomes' ability to throw the ball. It's the receivers. Kansas City's defense, number 2 in the NFL this year. They were able to shut down, the Dolphins for the most part when they played them in Germany. Now they get Tyreek Hill, who gets to come back to Arrowhead. Okay. But they've got some guys that recovered this last week, but that are not 100% healthy. I don't think they had Achane when they played in Germany, but they'll have him this time. Mostert's coming off of a knee and ankle injury, and so it'll be interesting to see if he plays the full game or not.
I know their defense got banged up.
Tyreek has had leg injuries over the last couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, because he was going to break the 2,000 record. He was on pace for it.
Regular season's over.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying, he was on pace to do it.
Oh, yeah, he was. Yeah.
I know their defense got banged up.
Led the league in passing yards. But in the snow, he's not used to these conditions. I think that the Chiefs' defense, that they're hitting on all cylinders. Kansas City is going to run the football. Okay. They've boosted Clyde Edwards-Helaire over the last several weeks because Pacheco's been injured. They're going to have Pacheco at full strength, who did not play last week. I think if the Chiefs run the ball, play keep away from Miami, and they score touchdowns, Kansas City shouldn't have any problems with the Dolphins.
Dolphins also defense got banged up last game as well. They signed Justin Houston today and Bruce Irvin.
I thought Urban was with the Lions. What happened?
We released them because we got James Houston coming back for the playoffs. We had CD Deuce that needed to be upgraded back to the active roster as well. So basically, it just came to the point, can't keep everybody. So who are you going to let go?
Yeah. Sunday's going to be fun. You got the Steelers at the Bills. We talked about how, the Steelers have played better on offense with Mason Rudolph, but they're going to be missing TJ Watt. The Bills are playing at home. The weather, I don't think it's going to matter for either team. They're used to playing in the elements, both teams. And Buffalo has been on a roll, okay? They were 6-6 at one point. They have battled back to win the division, get the second seed. The biggest turning point was the change at offensive coordinator. They fired Ken Dorsey, and they promoted the quarterbacks coach, Joe Brady, to offensive coordinator. Now, if those of you who don't know, Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow at LSU, okay, when they won the national championship. He became the offensive coordinator in Carolina, but did not get along with the head coach, Matt Rule, and was subsequently released from his duties there. He comes to Buffalo, and the biggest change of all, they're running the football. They are utilizing James Cook. Okay. They got Leonard Fournette involved this last week, who has been on the practice squad. And so I don't think the Bills are going to have any problems in this game. I expect
No.
Buffalo to win.
And I'll just bring some more facts to this. The Steelers' record without TJ Watt on the field is 1-10. 1-10. Buffalo wins this all day. I don't like those odds for the Steelers, and I don't think Mason Rudolph is that good of a QB. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's played better than Mitch, but that's about it. I still think Kenny Pickett's the better QB there. Unfortunately, he's hurt. So, which is a surprise because I thought he could be playing by now in the playoffs. And why ain't Pickett playing? I thought he could come back after a couple weeks.
They've got these, Pickett's back, but I just think that, they're going to run with Rudolph because he's the veteran presence and their offense has been playing better. I would be surprised if they started Pickett in the game. But I mean, it could happen. I just think that they're going to go with Rudolph.
Okay.
Then they've got in the schedule here from NFL.com, they've got these games backwards because Packers Cowboys play the Sunday night game, but we'll go ahead and talk about them. Packers at the Cowboys. Of course, Cowboys are a different animal at home. Okay. Packers are a young team on the road. It's going to be Jordan Love's first start at quarterback in the playoffs. Cowboys are a veteran team at this point when it comes to playing in the playoffs over the last several years. I think that while Green Bay will give them, a little bit of a game, the strength of the Packers is their ability to pass the ball. Well, here comes Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and the group on the pass rush. That offensive line is not all it's cracked up to be, and they've got a strong secondary with Bland and company in the back there, Donovan Wilson. I think the Cowboys win this game easily.
I think the Cowboys win this game. But I wouldn't be mad for upset. I wouldn't be mad at it. But I want the Cowboys to win. You know why? Because I want my revenge game.
Oh, yeah, I know you do. You want your revenge game. And I think there's a real good chance you're going to get it. The middle game, which they've got backwards here, 10-7 Rams at 12-5 Lions. And I got to be honest, these teams feel like mirror images of one another. Okay? Both teams are pass happy, but they can run the football. Both teams have suspect defenses, but stars on both defenses. Aiden Hutchinson, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, okay, for the Lions. Aaron Donald, okay, for the Rams. I think the Rams are going to give the Lions a game, but it's just going to be too much. The Detroit Lions having their first home playoff game at Ford Field. The place is going to be electric. I will take the Detroit Lions to win the game.
I'll roll with Detroit Lions. And now this is the topic I've been saving for this moment. So a Detroit clothing line around here, the same one that started the Detroit Rams, started selling the Detroit Rams shirts when Stafford first went to LA, when we knew the Lions were going to a full-blown rebuild and it was going to be a bad, long year, okay? So don't get me wrong, a lot of us Lions fans did cheer on Stafford. I didn't cheer on Stafford until I knew he was actually going to win the Super Bowl because I was rooting for Joe Burrow because the same page made these fans so rooting for the Rams every week. And it drove me nuts that I couldn't root for Stafford. I had to root against them because, to me, a big part of our fan base stopped being fans and just talked Stafford in every Lions group for the whole season. Well, the same page today put out, if you have a number 9 jersey that's Stafford and you're going to the game and you can't afford a new jersey, put some duct tape on it and write JMO on it. And they said Stafford jerseys are banned for this weekend. Now they're talking about Lions jerseys, not Ram fans coming from LA to Detroit for the game wearing a Stafford jersey. They're talking about Lions fans only, with the Lions 9 Stafford jersey. Do not wear it. He's the enemy this week. Well, somehow Pat McGaffrey on ESPN talks about it. And then here comes Kelly Stafford. Well, it's really sad because that's not how we view over here. We love Detroit. So what are you trying to say? Stafford loves Detroit so much he's going to come here and not try to beat Detroit Sundays, Kelly? Are we supposed to root for you and your husband to return to Detroit, Kelly? Like, what are we supposed to do? No, it's the fucking playoffs. Fuck
All
your
right,
highlight
let
video.
me get my 2 cents worth in here. Okay, you're way over the top here. Okay, just you're way over the top. You're high and mighty because you guys have made the playoffs and you have to play against your former quarterback in the first game. And I know there's a part of you that is scared to fucking death that he's going to come home and beat you. Okay. But listen, if people have Stafford jerseys, it's a Lions jersey. Okay. Just because somebody wants to wear a Stafford jersey, it's a Lions jersey. They're proud of what he did for them all those years that he was there. They're welcoming him back, but that doesn't mean they're not going to boo him. They don't need to tape shit on their jersey and act like, oh, you're going to see his name on the back of the jersey. We're rooting for him. Is it going to say Rams on the front or Lions? You know, how many people are going to show up with their Detroit Rams shirts from when they won the Super Bowl? Okay.
Oh, better be nobody.
You know, so quit having a damn heart attack. We got to put JMO on it.
I'm not saying put JMO on it.
It's a Lions jersey. Okay. People wear jerseys from players that haven't played there in 30 years.
Okay?
I understand Barry
that.
Sanders jersey, just because he happens to be coming to town, maybe that's the only jersey they got. Okay?
I understand that. But this to me is I'm not going to a playoff game.
Covered up.
No, to me, there's a difference. I agree with some of you say. Now, if Stafford was retired out of the league, and even if he retired with the Rams, there's no problem with it. But for the fact he's still playing, you don't wear the enemy's jersey. It's
not the enemy jersey. It says Detroit Lions on it, but first and foremost, Detroit Lions.
I understand
that, but cover up the back end on the thing. Now. Listen, you can cover up the back end thing and put JMO on there all you want. It's still a Stafford jersey underneath the piece of paper.
I get what you're saying, but I want to be clear too.
Petty,
time out, David.
Petty.
I'm not the true person really bitching about their jersey. I'm just bitching about Kelly Stafford making a big old deal in their broadcast like Detroit's the bad people. That is my point of it, really. I don't really care if somebody wears a fucking Lion jersey with the number 9, honestly. But the fact that it's got blown to the whole point to where it's on ESPN, it's on her fucking broadcast, and she's talking shit, you know. This is a playoff game. She
doesn't feel bad about Detroit as her talking shit.
What are you talking about?
They don't feel a negative way towards Detroit is her talking shit.
Talking shit on the fan base. Yeah, not like that, but her to talk shit and not realize that they're just saying support the players on the team. On the team the Lions are playing. That's what they're saying. No one's saying hate Stafford or even boo Stafford. They're just saying wear a player's jersey on the team Sunday. That's actually on the team.
All right. The 11-6 Eagles are taking on the NFC South champions, the 9-8 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers barely beat the Panthers 9-0 in the final game of the season. The Eagles, who were in a position to possibly end up with the number 2 seed in the NFC, they started the season 10-1, have lost 5 of their last 6 games. They got throttled by the New York Giants. And, I don't know what to expect from this game. I really don't. My gut tells me that Philadelphia is the better team. They played in the regular season, Philly at Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football earlier in the year, and Philly won. But I think both these teams are way different than they were earlier in the year. I'm still going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to go to Tampa Bay and win the game.
I'm going to take the Bucs. I'm probably going to regret that and be wrong. But why I'm taking the Bucs is I don't trust Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has a fucking broken finger now on his throwing hand. His middle finger is snapped in two. So now he's playing with the broken finger. Brown got hurt. I know he said he's all right and he's going to play. But I don't know. I don't trust it. And I don't trust it because I haven't seen the offense do nothing in like 3 fucking weeks. So right now, I'm going to take the Buccaneers at home in the defense.
All right, so based on my picks, the divisional round games would be the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. In the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles at the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. In your bracket, you would have pretty much the same stuff, I think, except you got Tampa Bay going to San Francisco instead of Philly. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So just for fun, while we're here, let's just make the whole playoff scenario here.
Okay.
I think Buffalo beats Kansas City in the divisional playoff round. They're due. Okay. They've been playing so well. But my upset is the Cleveland Browns go into Baltimore. They've already beat Baltimore this year. Okay. And they did it without Joe Flacco. They did it with Deshaun Watson. Okay. I think the Browns will face the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship, and one of the teams that hasn't won the Super Bowl is going to get there. Okay. In the NFC side, I've got the 49ers walking all over the Eagles, and I got Detroit beating the Dallas Cowboys to go to the NFC Championship game. But in the end, I have the Buffalo Bills versus the 49ers, and I think the 49ers are just the best team in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
I think 49ers win the Super Bowl as of right now.
I could see
yours work out. Who do you got in your AFC and NFC championship divisional playoff round?
I'm going to roll with yours.
Okay.
Except I might as well just be a homer because I'm going to root for my team. But in my scenario, I would prefer Detroit. I think Detroit could beat the 49ers. I do. But I could also see the 49ers beating Detroit because like I've said since the beginning, Detroit is a young team. I necessarily don't expect them to make the Super Bowl. So my homer pick is Detroit in the Super Bowl, but my realistic pick right now would be probably more the 49ers. I could see the Bills, but something tells me to pick Baltimore. So that might be my different 49ers
Okay, so
versus Baltimore.
you're gonna take Baltimore versus Detroit in the Super Bowl, and you'll get another rematch game
Yep.
in Vegas.
Um,
Well, Ron thinks it'd be great if Detroit played Cleveland in the Super Bowl. I think it'd be great. Two
that'd be
teams
awesome.
that neither team had been to the Super Bowl. Buffalo's been there. Buffalo's been
Oh,
there 4 times. Couldn't
and
win.
and
If
only why
these
I
two
say
teams
that,
made it, oh my God, it'd be awesome.
yeah, and only why I really want to pick Baltimore is that I'm not trying to be a homer, but did you see that defense from Michigan last night?
Yeah,
Okay. You know who runs the exact same defense, right?
Baltimore and Michigan have the same
Because
defense.
you know
I know about
Baltimore's
that.
defensive coach right now that has the interview list for Washington is the ex-Michigan defensive coordinator who installed that defense there. So if he actually leaves for a head coaching job, Jason Milter at Milton or Milter, something like that, is our defense coordinator now for Michigan. I would expect him to go from Michigan to Baltimore to replace him as their defense coordinator.
Maybe Harbaugh wants to take him with him when he goes to San Diego. I mean, L.A.
That's possible, but but I don't know. It's 50-50. I think it's going to take a lot. I mean, I think they're going to have to match a close contract to what Michigan's offered them. $110 million, 10 years. And he only has to guarantee Michigan 1 year that he won't leave for the NFL, and that'd be
Yeah, but
2024.
he can go out a champion now if he can get a job that he wants.
Oh, for sure.
If he talks to him and they'll give him the job, I'm telling you, he's going to the Chargers because
Oh,
you have Justin Herbert there, okay, and it's in L.A. He's been a West Coast guy in the past because he's been to Stanford. He was with the 49ers. You know, he was quarterbacks coach with the Raiders. He spent time on the West Coast. I just think that I see him going there. If we'll know within the next week or so if he's going to the NFL because
oh,
they're
for
going to want
sure.
him to sign that contract as soon as they can. Okay, because they
Okay.
want to secure their spot, and that's why he's like, "Oh, we're pushing stuff back." They don't have to wait to interview him. Okay,
Yeah,
because he's not in the NFL. They can interview him anytime. They don't have to wait till the week of the NFC and AFC championship games.
that is true.
So,
I want to respond to Ron's comment that he left a little bit ago. He said, I need to rant a little bit about the Lions fans, I swear. If they boo Stafford, I would be disappointed in my own fans. And that's my rant. Stafford did a lot for this team with no defensive help and out and offensive side. Now I want to clear some things up. My whole take wasn't to boo Stafford or treat Stafford like shit for being back in Detroit. My whole point of it was a page asked a simple thing: support the team, players on our team in Sunday's game, and not wear Stafford jersey. Lions guys. Me, don't really care. It is what it is. I personally want it just for the fact that he's my enemy in that game. That's my true feeling. But my thing was, it just get blown to the portion where it's on ESPN. You got Pat running his mouth about it. You have Kelly running her mouth about it. Like, it's a big deal. And I think what the problem is people they're taking it like no one can wear a Stafford jersey. And that's not the case. Like I said earlier, if Ram fans, you can wear a 9 Stafford jersey. That would make sense to me. He's your quarterback, support him. I would rather support a player on the team currently in the playoffs. Now, I don't think this is a game the Lions should put a highlight reel together for Matt at the beginning. They might. I don't think a playoff game's a good reasoning for that, just because it's playoffs and, you know what I mean, keep your mind on the game. But yeah, sure, if he comes back in the regular season, which he will, probably I think we play him next year. If not, the year after that, he'll eventually find his way to Detroit. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Stafford. I thank him for the 12 years he played, especially, him playing with the broken back in the meaningless season that we weren't making the playoffs. He still chose to play. I got nothing left for the guy. But I'm not going to lie. Sunday, I don't care about him. Not even a little bit. He's number one enemy. It's the playoff time. Soon as that game starts, I could care less about Stafford. After the game, sure. I'm not wishing, ill on the guy or injury on him or anything like that. I just going to 110% support my team and focus on my team. I ain't worried about ex-Lions. You think he's worried about Detroit? No, man. He won a Super Bowl. He's been living up in LA, having a good little life over there, and I'm proud of him. Congrats. But guess what? You have a new life now. You're not a Lions fan, and we shouldn't have to open our arms to please everybody and give him a hug as soon as he walks through the door.
I didn't say that, and I don't think anybody else is saying that.
No, I don't think. I don't think you're saying that.
I just think that it is petty. Okay, I just think that it is petty that they are, making such a big deal of it. It's like, don't start none, won't be none. Okay,
Yeah.
They're looking for something to say. Everybody's hyped up because they know they're going to have to face, and there's worry. There's worry. This is the first home game. You don't want to end the season losing to a former player that played on your team.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. And so, it's not like there isn't enough hype as there is. And I just think that, if somebody wanted to wear a Stafford jersey that's a Lions jersey, who cares? They're honoring the fact the guy used to play for us. But I'm not going to cheer for you during the game. I just happen to be wearing your jersey.
No, I totally get it. Some people can't afford a new jersey, especially after paying $500 for a ticket. Because me and my best friend, we were looking. We thought about going, but we looked up 3 tickets, and the total was like $1,500 for 3 tickets. And we both looked at each other. We're like, we're good. We're good on that price.
Well, buddy, I'm looking forward to this weekend's games. It's going to be great. The 2023-2024 playoffs are going to begin here starting on Saturday. I hope everybody will join us again next Tuesday for the next edition where we will review the wild card weekend playoff games, and then we will preview the divisional playoffs. We'll talk about any coaching hirings or firings, news around the league, etc. Probably a lot shorter video next week, but that's okay. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Chris, for hosting.
No problem. I'm enjoying every week. We only got a couple more weeks left, and then we'll come up with how we're going to do the offline or off-season scheduled broadcast. But man, I just can't believe it's almost been a year already, buddy. Like 2 months, I think it is. End of February.
We started like the week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's about it.
We're hanging in here.
Yeah, we are. And everybody,
thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday, everybody.
And if you haven't done it yet, please go follow us on Facebook. We're on Kick, Twitch, YouTube, all underneath Fourth and Goal Sports. Follow David on Facebook, me as well. Live streams always shot to my personal page. It's in Renegades every week, NFL Renegades. If you're not a member, go join. It's a group, all 32. Talk your football, rep your team. Fourth and Goal Sports, I'm always posting on there, and the live stream's there every Tuesday. So we'll see you again next week, Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Don't forget, can't wait. This weekend's the weekend we all been waiting for some time.
And I will send you that wild card pick sheet as soon as I'm done with it.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. See you next week.